Okay, so far we've imported our operating system, our drivers, along with obviously creating the share. And now for this video, let's create a task sequence. Now, a task sequence is a set of directions that the computer is going to read, and it's going to tell the computer how to deploy your image. So let's make a new folder. And this is going to be for an office build. So we'll just call it office build 8.1. That sounds good to me. No comments, and it's just a folder, so we will rush through it. Okay, our folder is there. We're going to right click on our folder and we're going to create a new task sequence. Now, the task sequence ID can be referenced in your any files. There's a lot of documentation on all of this. I'm sure you can find a significant amount of YouTube videos on this as well. We're just going to call this Office 8.1, and I don't like using spaces, so underscore 8.1. And I usually just make the task sequence name and the ID the same thing. That way, if I screw one of them up, I should have the same outcome. Okay. There are a lot of templates you can choose from. I'm just going to do a standard client task sequence. You can also do custom, but this is just the standard. So we'll stick with that, and you can experiment later on. So we're going to select our operating system, which is, we only have one in here. It's going to find the WIM file. Next, we do not need a product key because I'm working on a KMS. You might need one. If you want to use it, that's fine. I work for the College of Education. Full name, I don't know, MSU, why not? And I'll just leave this blank because I can do all of this through group policy and other methods. I can create a local administrator password, but I'm not going to. I can also specify that in other places. So it's pretty easy. It's going to create a client.xml for us. And that was the easy part. The next part, it's a little more trial and error. And any IT professional I've talked to has agreed that it really is trial and error. You're going to work with this thing and you're going to pull your hair out. So here's your recipe. Say you're making cookies. You're going to add your salt and your flour and your water and your milk and your eggs, whatever you put in your cookie, and it goes in a certain order. This is the same way. The computer is going to read this and it's going to tell it, how exactly do you want to deploy this operating system? Well, first it has it to initialize. It's going to gather the rules for it to process, and you put your custom settings here. But it should also work if you just gather only the local data and do not process the rules, because here it's just initializing. So it's going to validate, check the BIOS, and then it's going to tell it to go to the next phase. So we'll just minimize these. And the state capture is, do you want to capture the state of the image and back up the user's data? And we don't want to do that. We're not trying to capture the image. We're trying to deploy the image. So you can click on the options tab up here and disable. You can go through and play with these. These are definitely useful for certain situations, and lots of IT professionals do use those settings. However, I'm not going to. Just disable, and because we're not refreshing the computer, we're going to do a clean install, just fresh. We're not refreshing. So if you follow these little lines, it's going to go here and it's going to go down. It's going to hit each one of these. Let's go here. So yeah, we're going to leave this on. Next phase. Restart the computer. Well, we don't need to restart the computer, so actually let's disable that. We're not refreshing, so we don't need to restart. Now the state capture is turned off. We can turn it off here too. See, makes it go away, all pretty. Okay, pre-install. It's gonna gather the local data again. I don't believe you need two of these. I haven't really cared much to determine that, because it's my image deploys how I want it to, regardless of the setting. We're doing a new computer, yes. So we want to format and partition the hard drive. And you can go through and tell it how you want it to do that. This number, this type. Scripts, we're not running any scripts right now. And we're not going to do an offline user state capture, because remember, we're not backing up the user's data. So basically what can happen is you can back up the user's data and rebuild the computer, and after the computer's rebuilt, it will put all the data back onto the computer. The problem with that is if you have viruses or corrupt files, or even not backing it up before you use this user state capture, you can, if something goes wrong, you can lose all of this data. And I'm not about that. I like to personally go and back up the user's data, so if it gets screwed up, I know for a fact what I messed up. And it's on me regardless, so I'm going to make sure it's done right. So we're going to disable this, and we don't need the hives. Turn this off. And we're not refreshing, right? So we don't need to back up. We don't need to do any of this. And I don't know if you have to turn all these off. Just for simplicity, it is. You should be able to just shut off the first one, and it should shut off all the following. But I like to make it look pretty. Yeah, I know. So, new computer, remember, it's pre-install. Now we're going to go to the install. It's going to install the operating system. Pretty straightforward. All right, and it's going to go to the next phase. For the post-install, it will copy the scripts, which we don't have. It will configure the computer to however you want. Again, we're not running packages or anything. I do my scripts manually also with a silent script, with a silent installer that connects to the server and pulls all the software. We can have it inject the drivers, and that's fine. We'll let it inject the drivers. I don't usually do Windows recovery just because all of these computers are really easy, and it's more efficient for me to rebuild the computer than it is to start recovering and take hours for it to figure out that it can't do anything. So it'll restart the computer like it normally does. These drivers right here, just so it can boot up properly. Gather local data, post-apply cleanup, that's fine. We're not recovering from the domain because we didn't back up anything in our state captures, like network setting and stuff like that. I'm not really too familiar with Tattoo. I don't know, I usually leave it on. Doesn't affect anything. It can install applications. If you have applications up here that are configured, you can find all the switches on the internet, and they vary from application to application. So Java won't have the same switches as, say, Mozilla or Flash. Flash is a more troublesome one for me. I like BitLocker. Custom tasks, we're not running anything right here yet, so let's not install applications. Custom tasks, it's not going to affect anything if we keep it on. We're not going to restore user state because we didn't back up anything, or groups. And if we wanted to, we can apply a group policy package, and that requires additional software to just the deployment workbench, and you can look that up as well. Now for imaging, we're not imaging the computer. Okay, so we're not going to do any of the sysprep. I'll go into that in a later video, and I don't actually use MDT to pull an image. I've never had good luck with it. Something always goes wrong. So it's more efficient for me to use this sysprep and a single command line to do all that. So for now, let's disable all these steps because we're not capturing. Okay, so apply our settings, and it's good to double check. Scroll through. Whoops. Okay, so we go through and everything looks good. You can also add your own custom task sequences into a new group if you have a specific way, or you can run PowerShell commands or even scripts, install updates offline, whatever it may be, you can do it. So you can also go look at the OS info. But for now, we're not going to edit our unattend.xml quite yet. I will look at that in the next video. So thank you for watching, and hope to see you in the next video.